Yeah, yeah. So I think I've always had a bias for action a little bit. I mean, I've tried and failed so many businesses. So many, probably more than 12 different businesses I've tried to start and failed.
Welcome to the Disgruntled PM podcast, your weekly therapy session for the chaotic world of project management, transforming daily frustrations into real action. Welcome, everybody. I'm Trevor, the Disgruntled PM, joined today by my guest and very good personal friend, actually, Peter Cline. Now, today we're going to be discussing all things mentoring. And Peter has a particular unique skill set in this because he actually, not only is he an entrepreneur, but he built a platform for mentoring. Peter, welcome to the show.
Trevor, thanks so much for having me on. I know it's been a long time coming, and so I'm happy that you and I are here and talking, and it's always great to be with you.
Absolutely. So let's start off with, can you tell the audience a little bit about your background and what you do?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I joined the Army as an infantryman right after high school. And so I grew up in the Bay Area and then joined the Army, and that took me to Columbus, Georgia, which was, a total culture shock for a kid from the Bay Area, but in the best possible way. I mean, I think I really needed it. And I loved it. I had a blast in the military, but knew that there were things I wanted to do in the private sector. I always wanted to start a business. I always wanted to go to school and have that full-time college experience. And so as my contract was ending, I was honorably discharged from the military, got a bunch of help from a friend as I got out and started a nonprofit. And that was kind of my first foray into realizing you can start something that helps a lot of people or has a big impact with, not very much money and a computer. And so that got me really interested in entrepreneurship. But it was sidelined for a little bit. I started a career in finance. I worked in mergers and acquisitions for a while, mainly focused on like healthcare and legal tech companies. And so like FineLaw was a big one.
Wait. Let's back up there because
Mhm.
I want to hear more about this finance job you had because I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I was the first careers I had were in strategy consulting, and then that was basically consulting for companies buying other companies. And left that job and went to go be the buyer. And so worked at Internet Brands, which is a big private equity backed software and digital media company. So if you've ever seen WebMD, Medscape, Lawyers.com, Martindale Avo, Nolo, all these different companies are part of the Internet Brands kind of umbrella. And it was an awesome experience. I mean, it's a tiny team of 4 people who were doing, a deal a month basically, and they were large transactions. I mean, FineLaw is a several $100 million company. And so we were moving really fast, a group of really smart people, and it was high pressure and it was perfect. And I think that job, and this is something I say a lot for people considering entrepreneurship, work in the corporate world first, get a taste for it, learn something. That job set me up really well for success now. And in the last July, I left to go full time on the companies I'm working on now, which are Service to Success, which is described as a recruiting technology company. And then Instant Groups, which is a scheduling platform for groups of people. And I'm so happy that I did. I absolutely love entrepreneurship, but yeah, those jobs set me up well to do it.
We'll get to the entrepreneurship in a little bit because that's a whole nother conversation that
Whole
I
nother
want to
can of
have with you.
worms.
But the biggest thing I know you're passionate about, and that's how this is how we met, was through mentoring. And you have your platform, Mill Mentor. Let's talk about mentoring, because that's a big piece, and a lot of people get that wrong, both on both sides of the coin, both as the mentee and the mentor.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. And I mean, I think I talk about military a lot, but to back it up broadly, like everybody in the world, I think that for job seekers specifically, kind of I'll talk on both sides. The mentee side first, I think is wildly important for everyone. Because I think what we're seeing now is folks are graduating college or leaving a job or leaving the military, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. They don't know what career is going to make them happy. They don't know what steps to take to land that career. And often that results in them finding maybe a spread of job titles or an industry that interests them, but no job title of focus, and having a really hard time making an actionable plan to go land that job. Maybe they go waste money on trainings that don't matter. Maybe they're just spinning their wheels. And mentorship really solves that. Having somebody who can tell you, I work in this role. These are the things that really matter. These are the people to talk to. Hey, you're interested in, this specific skill set. This is the role that makes sense. I mean, mentors can give this expertise that on your own takes months to get. And so
Years,
whoever you are, yeah, years, whoever
years, not
you
even months.
yeah, I completely agree. And so whoever you are, I mean, I really cannot emphasize it enough. And for professionals, being a mentor is amazing. One, if you're kind of a new leader, even if you're a senior leader, it helps a lot. Developing somebody else and helping them reach their goals builds you as a leader. One, it makes you feel like you're actually doing something good in the world. And so if you're, sitting in a cubicle looking at spreadsheets all day and you want to feel something again, this can help. And third, you're building the next generation of people who are going to lift your industry. And so you can feel like you're creating some sort of legacy. And so I think it's just the most amazing thing in the world. And I do think now there's things like National Mentorship Day and others to where people are realizing this and volunteering more of their time to help the next generation.
And one of the things I've specifically learned as I've been through a lot of mentoring sessions is one, being a mentor doesn't mean you're committed for a year or 5 years or 6 months. You can be a mentor for an hour, one day out of pick your time period and impact somebody's life. You don't have, it's not a long term commitment.
That's completely right. Yeah, I mean, taking 30 minutes to look at someone's resume or listen to their career plan and say, "Oh, here's what I'd change," could like completely change the trajectory of their career. And you're exactly right. For you, it was like 30 minutes and sharing something that's common knowledge. And for them, it was the biggest unlock of their career thus far.
Yeah. We were just talking off camera. I volunteered my time to talk to a couple of different veteran groups just recently, and I was giving them kind of a hodgepodge of different things about LinkedIn that I've learned over the course of this year. And I've learned them from probably 30 different sources, and I've kind of put different pieces together to build something. And a lot of the things that I was talking about, it's not rocket science, but it's also not public knowledge because it's so obvious sometimes we don't see it. And it's that somebody to grab you, put their arm around you and just say, "Hey, do you know about this? Do you know how to do this?"
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I mean, getting a little to the military side for folks who are coming out of that, it is I mean, and even for folks who have just been in the same career for a while, like you haven't updated your resume or LinkedIn in a while, like what job, what recruiters are looking for changes over time. Like it's not like a skill that people have, like unless you're actively in the job market or supporting folks who are, it feels so weird every time you're coming. Like it feels like you have to relearn the
Oh,
resume and
you
every,
do. You
yeah.
do because you know, in my episode where I introduced myself to the audience, I talk about how I had to learn how to network from the very beginning and how to build those relationships. When my first contract ended, I got a job, everything went great, networked, got another job, found myself in long-term unemployment. But every time that cycle happens, the game is different, but the fundamentals don't change. And, I challenge everybody that's listening, go look at your LinkedIn and then look at somebody who you admire, has who has a big following, and see if yours is different from theirs, because odds are it is. Unless you're living on LinkedIn, like I said, I was watching and someone was asking for their evaluation and I was like, "Well, you've got a beautiful mountainscape there as your banner. That is your billboard to advertise yourself." A mentor is somebody who can look at your LinkedIn, probably more senior than you professionally, and say, "Hey, have you thought about this? Or have you looked at that?" Because as a hiring manager, this is what I look for. And if you're not listening to that person who's the person that's in the role that you're interviewing with, that could be a game changer to get those lessons learned and the keys to the kingdom a little bit.
100%. And that's not even to mention, getting a referral, getting the warm hand in the door, which is very possible. And that, obviously the benefits of a referral go without saying, but even without that, there's a lot that mentorship can do. And so really if someone's in the military community, here's my shameless plug, use Mentor. If you're not in the military community, find people. Trevor's exactly right. Like find people who are working in your dream job or who are 2 or 3 rungs above it. If you want to be a junior PM, like find the director of program or project management, whichever kind of PM you want to be, or product, I guess, at that company. Obviously this project, but at that company or at a company you admire, and message them. Like obviously try to look for some similarity you have. You went to the same school, you live in the same town, you both worked at the same company, you did something similar. Fans of the same sports team, I don't know. And try and talk to them, because that is the greatest thing you can do for your career. I mean, I think the biggest opportunities I've had since starting a business have come from not things that I thought at the outset were like direct sales opportunities or like me going and doing a sales campaign, but were like relationships I built over time and something just came from them. It wasn't, a sales thing at all. And the same holds true for the job search. If you have a group of people who know this is a highly qualified person, this person really wants it, as roles come up, they're going to think of you.
Yeah, and when you start talking about that the network and those relationships, one of the things I've kind of talked about a lot is we learn this in the military, especially that you don't build your reputation. Everybody around you does. So if you're having those calls and talking to people and you're meeting with executives or senior level people and they like you and you present yourself as I'm asking for your time and your story and not just do you have a job? What do you think happens when they talk to somebody else about you?
Yeah, exactly right.
You know, full disclosure, me and Peter met because I booked an hour call with him on his platform and he's a good friend of mine. We text all the time and that's how it works. It can be 1 hour and that's it for your life, or it can be a friend that you text daily.
100%. Yeah, I mean, one of the board members of Boots to Books I met through mentorship. And obviously you and I have become good friends now. Like there's a lot of value in it, and it goes exactly beyond career. It's a good way to find a community too, especially even no matter what group you're in, military, non-military, if you're a PM, if you're in cyber, if you're in intel. Another good thing to do is just find those local communities around you. Obviously PMI is huge in project
Hmm.
management. But there's even smaller ones, groups of project managers or aspiring ones who meet up. Go and join that. Like get active in the local chapters of whatever it is you want to do. If it's, cyber, maybe it's B-sides, maybe it's, women in cybersecurity, whatever it is. But get involved in that industry group or go to local chamber of commerce events. Like all of these things are places you can meet business leaders or folks who do what you want to do. And I think you're right. I think more and more too, especially in the age of like AI optimized resumes and everybody basically trying to game what is currently a broken system, but there's not really a great solution proposed yet. I think the advantage is people who can build relationships, and it's always been that way, right? Relationships help, but I think they just get more and more important because if unemployment is going up, if more and more job seekers are seeking fewer and fewer jobs, there's going to be more applications for less jobs, and it's going to be harder and harder for a recruiter to differentiate any one candidate unless they've gotten a referral, they've had some relationship, and is that right? Probably not, but is that how it is? Yes. And so,
I just had a conversation shortly before we got on this recording with somebody that I know she's a sales consultant and will be a guest at some point. But we were talking and I said, it's funny how the story goes more deals and business transactions are done on the golf course than they are in the boardroom. And I kind of proposed to her. I was like, is that because people want to be surrounded by their friends doing something they enjoy rather than sitting in a room getting a PowerPoint to death?
yeah, no, I think it's valid. And I also think there's, and this goes into kind of broader uh, sales and entrepreneurship, I guess. People, I think you're definitely, people like buying from people they like. But I also think it just makes it a lot easier. Like, I think so many folks when and this is kind of a random tangent, but like, this is something we learned when we were starting Service Success. So many folks when they are trying to like sell or pitch something to a company do it like exactly that, like bright fluorescent lights, cold boardroom, hyper formal. And like,
all the colored charts that you can't
yeah.
explain.
And the hit rate is like horrible because it feels like to the people in the room, you are like trapping them there and trying to convince them of something
You're
versus
selling.
like, yeah, versus like if you just are kind of being friendly and conversational with them, they're going to ask the same diligence questions, but you're kind of letting it be a natural conversation and trying to be their friend, like at a dinner. So yes, a golf course, even though I don't golf, I really need to.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I guess now it's kind of a not as much. I do want to learn though. It's the one thing one sport I can get better at with age, and so that speaks to me.
Yeah, I mean, it it kind of makes me always go back to the joke that I do whenever I go somewhere, like I'll go into an electronics store and they'll be like, "Can I help you find something?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a pizza." You don't go into an electronics store looking for a pizza. So, if you're going somewhere, when you on this sales tangent, if you're going somewhere specifically looking for something, you've got a captive audience, use it. If you're, and that kind of translates to mentoring too. If you've got somebody on the phone, keep them interested. I
Yeah, I think that on the mentorship side, that goes into just being prepared. Like I think it's folks should, if they get a chance to speak with somebody, which they will, who's in their target role, it is before the call, before you're on the phone with them, it's easy to think, oh, I'm going to have so much stuff to ask this person. I don't need to write anything down. I want to be a project manager so bad. And you get on the call and like 10 minutes in, you're like, I forget everything that I forget everything that I wanted to ask now. Now that I'm actually on the call, I'm like kind of freezing up or like I'm totally forgetting. And like that is for a mentor a bit disheartening if it just goes completely silent at like 10 minutes and they're like, I could keep talking, but I don't really know what you want me to talk about.
I had that happen. I was meant
Bring a list of questions. You ready?
I had somebody who scheduled some time with me as a mentor, and I'm not exaggerating. My wife heard me talking to this person for about half the time, and she said, "Did you make him cry?" And I said, "No," but I kept having to instill in him, you cannot let the line go silent for 30 seconds. You have to keep that person interested and keep them talking. And that goes back to the sales side. You have to be selling yourself to this person that you want them interested in you, because if you can't keep their interest, they're going to go somewhere else for interest.
Yeah. I think for interviews, that's especially true. I think mentees should come prepared, but mentors also have a bit of a shepherding duty as well to help them. But like, I agree with you at some point. Like if you just have no idea what they want to talk about and it's silent, it's like, well, shoot, man. Like I really
Yeah,
want to help you, but like, what do I do?
if
Yeah.
I've got to pull it out of you of what you want out of me,
Yeah.
then that makes it 10
Yep.
times harder because I'm doing the role of both of us. And
Yeah. Tell me what you want.
I've been there before.
Yeah. Yeah. Very fair.
So
Yeah.
let's pause for a second. And now some words from our sponsors.
Projects slipping? Teams misaligned? Using the wrong tools? Introducing Spec-C from Constructive Curiosity, the project execution software built by project managers. Spec-C keeps your team aligned, your priorities clear, and progress moving. And right now, join the Spec-C beta launch crew to get early access and help shape the future of project management. Sign up today at constructivecuriosity.com. Current PM software not coming through? It's time to see what Spec-C can do for you.
Because as everybody knows, I have a Patreon where you get, for $1 a month, you're just helping the show out. For $5 a month, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. And that's where you get the post-mortem interviews, where me and Peter are going to be talking for about 20 minutes. And I'm going to be asking him, pointed questions about how to find what to do to get those to find those mentors, what kind of questions you should be asking them, and also maybe some lessons on how to build online platforms and entrepreneurship from the hard lessons he's learned and probably cost him a lot of money. So that's my plug for that. And kind of moving back to our conversation, let's shift to a little bit more about entrepreneurship, because we can always come back to mentoring, but I don't want to waste the opportunity to be talking to somebody who built something out of nothing and is successful.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'm a total nerd for entrepreneurship. And it is very much still a work in progress, as I'm sure any person building anything would say. But I'm happy to talk about it. So I'm pumped to dive in.
So let's start with how did you get the idea that you wanted to go build something? Because that's something, everyone always says, I tell people I started this podcast. It's like, oh, I've got an idea for a podcast. Okay, well, did you do anything with it? But it's an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I've always had a bias for action a little bit. I mean, I've tried and failed so many businesses. So many, probably more than 12 different businesses I've tried to start and failed.
Wait a second. You mean to tell me that your first one didn't hit the lottery and go right off the rails as fast as possible?
Yep. Yeah. Right. It's kind of, everybody thinks, yeah, I set up the landing page and then I've got 100 customers tomorrow. Right.
Yeah.
But I tried so many. And so like, I think one of the best things that I learned is like failure is not a bad thing. It is a learning experience. You should rush to fail and try and fail as fast as possible with every business idea you have. And if it doesn't fail, that's a good sign. But I think boots to books, that was the first thing I started, and it didn't fail, but it's not, I've never paid myself a cent from it. It's not something that pays me. I pay it to help more people.
So that's a hobby.
Yeah. Boots to books. I'm actually, even though I'm the president of Boots to Books, I'm a net donor to the organization. But it is successful and it raises good money and it runs well. And I think that taught me pretty quickly, as I said earlier, like you don't need $1 million. You don't need some wildly experienced person with 30 years in the industry. Like you need yourself a really good work ethic and a decent plan. And then, to be willing to take feedback from the market and iterate on it. And I saw that with Boots to Books. And then from there, I tried to start, so many companies. There was Provio, which was insurance reconciliation for dentists. There was TeamVest, fractional ownership in pro sports teams.
Oh, that old dental thing, that trope.
There was Arrayus, which was a travel app where you had a drag and drop itinerary for a day and you could book the whole itinerary with one click. All these things, and they all failed. Every single one, for one reason or another. They needed a bunch of money and we couldn't raise it. The users didn't actually like the product that much and we wasted a bunch of time before actually talking to them. Like all these things were learning experiences. Like I learned during Provio, like, wow, before you build anything, you should get your idea solidified and then go talk to users and make sure they actually want that. Which is like obvious, but people don't do it. And then like when I was trying to build TeamVest, it was like, okay, well, there's a ton of barriers to this market, but in trying to market it, I learned about like SEO, search engine marketing, and doing email campaigns. It's like each of these little pieces of learning adds up to the next company. And like you become more and more emboldened to start another basically. Because you realize how easy it is and that nobody is stopping you except yourself. And so you just try. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that bothers me with folks who want to start businesses now, especially, young folks who are out of school looking for work and like want to start a business who really have nothing to lose. And they're like, yeah, I want to start a business, but I haven't written a business plan, but I haven't raised any money yet, but I need to write this like 20-page marketing plan. It's like, no, the hell you don't. You need to invent the product or service you're going to sell, make sure nobody else is selling the exact same thing, and then make a landing page and see if 10 people will buy it. And if they do, then figure out how you're going to deliver the product and how you're going to deliver the service, whatever. Just see if 10 people will buy it before you do anything. You don't need an LLC. You don't need a C Corp. You don't need business insurance. You don't need a 100-page business plan. You need to run the fastest test of that hypothesis that you possibly can. And that is the biggest learning.
Because I have you on, I want to see if you knew this story. Evan Hafer, the CEO of Black Rifle Coffee, when he first got out of contracting and stuff, his initial plan for success was not Black Rifle. Black Rifle was a backup. He started a crowdfunding for vets called Twist Rate.
Wow.
That failed epically. And then he built Black Rifle. And what's even funnier is here's an SF guy who self-proclaimed knew nothing about business. His business plan, he took an operation order, took that as a template, and then then modified it to build a business plan.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, there's definitely value in like in your head or on a piece of paper, writing down and knowing your business's current and long-term strategy. The reason I say like don't fill it out is because when people like write a business plan, they download a 25-page template, mindlessly fill it in with
They're
things that
good.
don't really matter, and it's not really like something they're going to follow. It's more like a check the box. And then the second thing is that business plan isn't going to be the same in a month, right? Like it's like writing an operation order when you're going into like a really hairy operation and you haven't actually seen it yet. It's like things are probably going to change the second this starts. So like spending 2 weeks writing out this super long operations order when we have like no ground recon and we're going to change it pretty quickly is like, it's not a great idea. Let's go hit the ground and then, you know, plan in the fire.
Yeah, and like you were saying, the best time to do something is now. We always talk everyone always talks about, well, I want to do it when, or I'm waiting for this. It's like, well, what are you waiting for? You are the delineating factor between action and no action.
100%. 100%. And it's not like you don't need some incredible amount of time to do it. Like you don't have to quit your job. I think people have all these misconceptions of like, oh, if I want to start a business, I need to take this huge risk today and put 10K down and like, it's like you don't. You could, when you get off work at 6 o'clock, you go home and eat with your family, whatever. It's 7:30 now. Work for 2.5 hours on your business until 10 o'clock at night and go to sleep. Obviously, you're gonna have other stuff with your family. That's like such an idealistic image
Well,
of it.
you're
But you
what I
can
did what I
in
didn't hear there what I didn't hear there was you're going to sit on the couch watching TV having a beer.
yeah, yeah. There's sacrifices for sure. It's either sleep or personal time you're gonna give up. But like I am a big fan of try to start your business in the after hours while you still have a job, while you're still in the military, if that's who's listening, or while you're a project manager, or while you're searching for your project management job, um, and see if you can get it off the ground. Because if you can, and it starts taking more and more of your time, that's a good thing. That should be paying you for your time, or at least there's a road to where it'll pay you. But and like what you said with it's the best time to ever start a business. Oh my gosh, these AI tools like Lovable and Replit and Cursor. There was a day when I wanted to start a business, I would have to go to Wix and make a super, super ugly, like terrible website on Wix, or I'd have to go pay somebody like $3,000. And that like for a non-technical, non-coder, those were the options. Pay somebody a bunch of money, make a horrible website.
Well,
Now,
let's pause there for a second because odds are the person that you were paying that obscene amount of money to was doing it in their off time, doing a side thing or
that's
doing,
true.
because were you going to the major design firms, or were you going to somebody, going back to the beginning, somebody that you knew or somebody that knew somebody who did web design in their off time?
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. Now it's somebody we've used again and again. But now, like for somebody who wants to start a business, if you have $50 or $30 with Replit, you can make a very, very beautiful, you know, institutional looking kind of landing page that has a full demo of your product and describes everything you do like perfectly and can take signups. Can it do all the features of your product if it's like a software? Absolutely not. These AI tools cannot build a full SaaS product, but they can build to the point when you can get a big sign up list and then convince somebody technical to join you, or at least show a demo of the product or sell a service. So there's never been a better time to start a company.
Yeah. So, I mean, you literally proved the point right there, because I would probably bet money that the person that you used to design that website the first time you built one was doing it in their off time.
Yeah, probably.
So that right there, if you have a skill, use it. Like, what do you think I'm doing with this show? I built it, or I'm building it. I haven't built it yet, but I'm bringing people on, and through going through that mentoring and connecting piece, how do you think I get some of the guests I have? It's through talking to people, using the resources that I have of the people that I do know, and saying, do you know someone, or do you know somebody who does X? And going through that ability to get some of the big name guests I have.
Yep. And I think that's a big thing folks are, one, in my world, folks who get out of the military realize, but I think broadly folks are realizing as a whole, networking is more and more become like it's already hugely important, but every passing day it's going to become more important. I truly believe that.
But, and, I've had guests on who have said, it's not your first connection that gets you the job. It's your second and third connections, because going back to that reputation piece, you build that relationship with someone and then they say, oh, I got a buddy over here that is looking for what you do. If they like you and you've built that relationship, they're willing to refer you. And then you've got the warm handshake with the person that makes the decisions over the people that are just throwing their applications in with their AI written resumes.
Yep. I agree with you.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that the way it works? You work in, you do some recruiting.
Not for us. I will say we are very meritocratic and are, somewhat religious in that way. But I'll actually pause and say, if I have a personal relationship with a candidate, that doesn't mean that if there's somebody who's better than them for the role, they're going to get it. But it does mean that in my off time or when I'm not looking at a bunch of people, I'm going to be thinking about how I can help them get a job, which is unique because I don't think about that with folks I don't have a relationship with. And so like, if we get a role that comes up and they're relevant for it and we don't have applications yet, I would put them forward before I would go market that role a bunch so they could see it before anybody. We're still going to put it out publicly and post it and do everything we should, but we're not going to launch some huge marketing campaign and spend money or spend a bunch of time if we already have somebody who we want to see get hired who's relevant for the job. And so it might not be, you get put over a better candidate, but you might get faster looks at jobs and have like somebody like me in your corner who's like, hey, you should apply for this job today. Hey, the last resume I saw from you, I would change these things about it. And then for other companies, bigger companies, 100%. If you have a referral or a connection with a recruiter, some of these jobs, like a job at, I don't know, Apple could get 1,000 applicants. And so there's just no way they're looking at 1,000 resumes. There's just no way. And so anything you can do to stand out and have them pull it and have a real person look at it. And I know most of the time people are looking at resumes, but anything you can do to get that personal touch and get the recruiter to spend an extra 10 seconds on your resume, or to kind of hear out your story a little bit is worth it. And that is,
and
in
some
every
company, and some companies, if you get referred, you get a special link because the person that referred you, they send you the email saying Steve suggested you apply for this role. There's one company here in town. Every single time I've had a friend of mine refer me for a role there, I've at least gotten a phone screen. I've at least gotten that phone screen. And then where it moves forward is on me. But think about how huge that is, that I'm almost guaranteed that phone screen because I got that referral, because I knew someone. And that's a lot of the times through the power of having a mentor, building that network, relationship building, rather than just talking to people saying, you got a job? Can you help me find a job?
Yeah, that's not the message to send. And I think that's a good note broadly, again, in both careers and business, when you're building relationship, even if it's transactional in nature, you want to sell them something or you want a referral to a job or whatever it is, like being a purely transactional person will not do you any good. And like not even making an effort to hide it, like reaching out to somebody and being like, do you have a job for me? Like I probably get, not exaggerating, I'd say 5 of those messages every 7 days. Like, do you have a job for me? Or like, what jobs do you have for me? And like, my inbox is open to people. I advertise that and I will always respond as fast as I can. But like, I actually don't know what to say to those questions.
Well,
no, I do not. I'm sorry. But like,
you tell them to check the website.
Yeah. Like, so that is one thing. And like, I get it. It's super hard being a job seeker and like, you get all this conflicting advice. So I get it. But I will say the biggest thing is like, just do not do that, because there's no world in which that's going to work. Like every recruiter I know is kind of bothered by that. And so here's a better approach. Here's what I would do instead. If you are going to message.
Wait, do I want to save this for the postmortem interviews?
I'll give you something else for that too. Maybe how to
All
get
right,
it.
all right, all
This,
right.
this is worthwhile. I think what you should do is if you see a recruiter who works at a company that you want to work at, or if you just see a recruiter you're connected with, first thing you'll do is view their company and go to their LinkedIn page, that company's LinkedIn page, and look at their jobs. And if there's no jobs there, you go to the company's website and again, look for the careers page on their website. You can Google the company's name and then careers and find it. And look and see if there's any jobs that interest you. And you're going to want to find at most two, but ideally one, where it is you meet the location requirements. If it's in person, you're willing to work that location. If it's remote, so be it. You meet at least 75% of the skills, let's say, the vast majority of them. And if there's any skills that are like bolded and underlined, you definitely have those. So you find these roles, get the link to that job or the ID number of that job, and then send the recruiter a message and say, hey, I'm really interested in X company because X. Maybe I'm really interested in Amazon because of how much you guys have pioneered the cloud. I don't know. That's not a good reason, but you get it. Make up some reason, but give some reason. I'm really interested in X company because X. I saw this role on your site. ID number here, or requisition number here, so you know exactly which job. And I think my background is super relevant because X, Y, and Z. Could we find a time to chat? Still, probably not going to get responses from a lot of recruiters, but you'll get responses from some, and a lot higher hit rate than zero, which is what you'll get if you just say, "Do you have a job for me?" So always taking the step to just look at a company's site and give the requisition ID or the link to a recruiter in your message, and say like, let's say you were a systems analyst, now you want to be a systems engineer, walk the line for them in that message. Hey, in my systems analyst role, I was actually supporting all the systems engineers and ended up like doing 80% of the work. I'm certified in X, Y, and Z. I can totally do this. That little thing in the end, beautiful.
You know, that's the takeaway I've heard from so many people is if you don't explain it, they're not mind readers. And I go back to movies because when studios are still editing movies, they'll do the screeners where it's not the final cut, and then they'll ask for feedback. And there's always one or two scenes where they cut something else, and then people are asking, I don't understand how this happened. And then everybody that was editing and directing is like, well, this, and this. And they're like, but it wasn't in the movie because they know they were so close to the project. They knew all the details and it's an omission because they forget that they're so close to something that they didn't explain it.
I get what you're saying. They cut a scene that ties together
Yep.
different parts of the plot.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And that's a lot like you're selling yourself when you're looking for roles, when you're talking to people. You have to paint by numbers. You have to draw all the dots, draw all the lines, connect all the dots.
I agree with you. Yep. And in the interview, once you get there, that's there's a way to do it. You want to as you talk through your background or write a cover letter or any of that, just kind of slyly cross the line for them. Like, hey, in my past role, I was doing, I was looking at logs and trying to find irregularities. And I actually was, found a way to do it a lot faster with some code. And I was looking at your job description, and that's like a big part of the job, it says. And I actually found a way to do it better. Like, I'm so comfortable, you don't have to, I'm so comfortable, but like, walk over, be like, oh, I see this is a big part of that job. I'm actually really familiar with doing that because of this. Like super casual. It's not like you're giving a pitch to sell yourself, but you kind of are in a kind of casual way to where you're making this connection for the recruiter. And yeah, that's high quality advice, Trevor.
Yeah. So now is the time where we get to my personalized question just for Peter. Now,
Right.
these are all entertaining. So the question is, your half of your life probably right now is dealing with mentorship, right? So if you had to be mentored by a talking animal, what animal would it be and what celebrity's voice would it have?
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. I mean, voice is going to have to be Morgan Freeman. And he's basically God now. And how many times he's played him. And so if I had that voice guiding me, I'd be happy. Um, I wanted to say a dog, because I'm just like a total dog person, but I don't think that's giving Morgan
Gotta
enough
be something
power.
better than
I think
that.
it's got to be like a giraffe or something. So he's kind of towering over me as he,
Well, that's a good one.
flashes me with his majestic voice. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, maybe a giraffe with Morgan Freeman's voice. I think that would that would be the guide I need in life. What's yours?
There you go.
What's the correct answer to this question?
There is none. That's the point.
Yeah. No, I track it all. That'd be
I
tough.
make it a point to find to come up with the most obtuse, out of left field questions because we talk about a lot of serious things on the show. Let's have some entertainment.
Good. I like it.
So I want to put the spotlight on you for a minute. Let you tell everyone what you're up to, where they can find you, what you want to share with the audience.
Yeah, 100%. So the first thing is if you are a professional who's got a few years of experience and valuable experience to share, whether or not you're connected to the military community, we would love you to be a mentor. On Mill Mentor, it's totally on your schedule. You connect your calendar, you accept calls when you want, and we handle connecting at call time. So it makes being a mentor, as both Trevor and I can tell you, wildly easy. So that's the first one, millmentor.com.
I'm on there.
Yep. If you're military connected, veteran, spouse, transitioning, member of the Guard or Reserve, Mill Mentor is free to you. So you can book calls with 1,000 different people, both of us, recruiters at great companies, executives at big tech companies, like just these wildly impressive people who are ready to help. And if you're not a member of the military community, while Mill Mentor is not available to you, you can always message me on LinkedIn if you want to talk entrepreneurship or careers in finance. Happy to talk about those. Project management, Trevor will run about 6 million laps around knowledge. So I defer on those. And then
Just don't ask him for a job.
yeah, don't do that. Wild market. Unless you're cleared and you want a job doing cybersecurity work near Fort Meade, in which case we've got you. But so that's Mill Mentor. Boots to Books. If you're veteran, member of the Guard or Reserve, spouse, you need a scholarship, Boots to Books will pay for scholarships for the PMP, for various other things. So check that out. And then for all other folks, if you want to check out one of the other things I'm building, you can go to instantgroups.ai. It is a group meeting scheduler. If you've ever used like When Is Good or Doodle, they're horrible and they're no fun to use. And so this is a much, much, much better version of group scheduling. I won't do a full kind of sales pitch here, but check it out. That's what I'm working on now, and it will launch to over 200 companies. So we have made a lot of pre-sales and it's going really well, which is exciting.
When is it launching?
The goal is to launch before October 1st, but we shall see.
Okay. Yeah. So, thank you for Peter for volunteering your time, both for this and for the postmortem interviews that are coming after. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow all the show pages, interact with the show. Patreon, $5 a month. You get access to insights and direct answers from some of the best minds I can find. And some of those minds even came from Mill Mentor. So with that, I'm going to say, may all your deliverables be on time, your budget's in the black, and your scope not creeping. For Peter Cline, I'm still Trevor, and I'm still the disgruntled PM.